Righto, longboard terminology part 4. This time we're going to talk about roads. Yeah, I've been doing this series on longboard terminology, kind of like explaining and describing some of the aspects of longboarding. So far we've covered wheels, trucks, and decks. So if you haven't seen those, definitely check those out after. I'm going to talk about roads today. Hopefully this one's going to be a little bit more fun. The others have been a little bit more technical, like labeling the parts of the board and sort of describing the technical terms in regards to it. In this video I'm going to get into much more like the slang and some of the ways of describing different roads that we use as skaters. Should be a bit more fun, a bit more interesting, a bit different. I'll get less stuff wrong. Shout out to the guys in the comments who've been correcting me on a couple of things in the previous videos, but hey, that's part of it. It's good. Yeah, roads. So one of the first things with roads is I often differentiate things between a run and a spot. I don't know if everyone does this, but this is something that I do and we used to do growing up. A run would be something that's quite long. It's something you're more likely to hop in the car and get driven back to the top, or if you're having to walk it, it's going to take a long time to walk to the top. These are things like, event roads or, bigger mountain passes, things like that is more likely to be a run. Whereas a spot is something more like, in a neighborhood or a footpath or somewhere where you wouldn't drive the car because it's too short for that. Maybe it's one corner or it's two corners next to each other. It's like a spot you go to. I don't know if that's how everyone describes it, but that's just something that I use to describe it. All right, let's get into some of the types of roads you can get. So, kind of like I already mentioned with run versus spot, you can have a hiking spot, which is where you walk to the top. That's, I don't know, pretty standard for skating a lot of the time. And then you have a drive run. So that's a run. It's going to be a run. It's going to be long. You don't want to walk because maybe it's a mile or 2 miles, or if you live somewhere like Colorado and they have 10-mile ones or whatever. There's going to be a difference between a hiking spot, walking, hiking, and driving. Next one is open road versus closed road. This seems kind of self-explanatory, but it's basically referring to traffic, like cars. Most skating is on an open road. We don't have our own designated spots. We use the public roads. So open is inferring there's going to be cars, there's going to be traffic, there's going to be other people using the road. Closed road is mostly due to events. If you close down a road, you have the whole road to yourself. You can use both lanes, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about traffic. Some cases you can also have I don't know, maybe a state park. Around here we have a state parks that they close the road in the winter. So if you go and skate it in the winter when there's not snow, you don't have to worry about cars. So that would be a closed road situation. Other names for things, you can have neighborhood runs. It's kind of in the name. You're skating in a neighborhood. These places are a little bit safer sometimes because traffic's going slower. There's less traffic. It's quieter. You can sort of do whatever you want. And for me growing up, basically all of my skating wasn't in neighborhoods. Neighborhood runs. It's normally a bit more casual. It can be more dangerous if you're going to go faster. So neighborhood skating is normally keeping it at slower speeds, doing more slides. It's more about having fun than it is about going really fast. A double yellow is pretty simple. It's on the road if you have the two double yellow lines, where it basically means a main road. Different countries it can mean different things, but it basically implying what it means for traffic is you're not allowed to cross the center line to pass cars or whatever. It's kind of asserting that this is a more serious road. So in skate terms, double yellow is implying it's a bit of a more serious road. You need to be a bit more competent in your skating, and you're going to need to be taking it more seriously and being more careful, obviously staying in your lane. These roads tend to be faster, requiring a higher skill level. Just like I said, a bit more of a serious road than compared to hanging out in a neighborhood. Double yellow often means you need to take more safety precautions. You're more likely to have traffic in front or behind of you, and you're going to have to do things to be careful around that. Next one I have is also highway. So this is kind of your next level up from a double yellow. Highway runs are obviously in the States they have route numbers. In New Zealand, we didn't have as many what you guys call freeways or highways. We have the one motorway in Auckland. So a highway was like we've skated State Highway 1 in New Zealand. it's the main road. It's just going to have more traffic. It's a more built up road. It's more serious. You're going to have to be really careful about the time of day that you go, and you know, these kind of roads are really, you should be waiting until you're quite competent before you drop on like a road like that. Kind of in the name, it's a highway. It's one of the most like main roads in that area. There's going to be traffic. It's going to be a big open area. Like, you just need to take it very seriously and be careful. That's a highway road. Calming down a little bit, we've got like a skid spot. This could be like a driveway, you know, a short, narrow road with little traffic, like any kind of place where it's just like you're just doing a slide. You know, you walk up and do one slide. I would call that like a skid spot, basically. If a run is full grip, it means there's no drifts. So yeah, it can be any kind of road, any of the other categories, but if you don't need to slide, you know, you grip the whole thing, we just call it full grip. Similar to a skid spot, a corner session would be like when you have a corner that you session. Super simple, but you know, it's something that we use. We call them corner sessions. It can be any kind of corner, but a corner session is when you're just skating that one corner. It can even be part of like a bigger run where you could skate the run from top to bottom. It could be miles long, but you decide you just want to stop and session a corner. The last one I'll mention, like types of roads, is a speed run. I don't know how many people would use this term, but I definitely use it. It's like a road that you know is good for just getting as fast as you can. So this is the type of road where you go and you practice your tuck and you try and just get your top speed. You know that's the road that's like the fastest in your neighborhood or your town or area. Like, that would be your speed run. Righto, let's talk about like descriptions of roads, like kind of the technical sort of descriptions of how a road is like shaped and features or whatever. For this, I'm gonna start with corners. I'm gonna use Maryhill as an example because kind of like the satellite view of Maryhill is pretty good to sort of describe these. So if we zoom in on the top of Maryhill, we'll start off by talking about like rights and lefts. Like, that's pretty self-explanatory. Like a right-hand corner or a left-hand corner, are you turning right or left? Some people like to use heel side or toe side, but because like skaters don't all skate the same way, saying heel or toe because that's the way you turn doesn't mean that's how someone else turns. So if you're describing a corner, it's far better to use right or left, and then it makes sense for everyone. But you can see at the top of Maryhill, you've got a right and then a left. The next type of corner I would say is a kink. And so this is a type of corner which like almost isn't a corner. It just kind of kinks a little bit. These don't necessarily mean you have to drift or not. Like, it could be a grip or it could be a slide, but a kink is like, it's not a full corner, but it's not a straight line. It's a kink. The next corner would be like a sweeper. So this is any kind of corner, like left or right, that just keeps going for a long time. It sweeps around the turn. It's not just like a tight turn, it sweeps along. You're sort of either turning heel or toe or left or right for quite a long time. You're getting really into the turn, you're sitting there. So this would be at Maryhill, this that first big left sweeper that's in the picture. The next corner would be a hairpin. This one again might be obvious because it's not like skate specific, but a hairpin turn is, you get a really tight corner, almost like a 180. It doesn't have to go all the way to 180 degrees, like turning back on itself, but in general, like a hairpin corner is going to be the type of corner where you do get a really tight turning radius quite quickly. Like, it's not a long round sweep, but it's like quite a quick, aggressive turn. So in Maryhill here, you've got this section which would have, that's like two hairpin corners back to back. We could almost call it a hairpin stack. Next would be a chicane. Obviously this is like a generic term for any kind of, like, it's not just skating related. A lot of these are like racing cars or whatever, like any kind of thing. We'll use this type of terminology. But a chicane is basically any form of corners that are quickly right after each other. And more often than not, they're like two kinks. So you sort of like do this, like I keep doing this with my hand, but you kind of do that. You can kind of see this in between those two hairpins on Maryhill. This one's got like you're coming right out of the hairpin, you do like a left, right, and then left into the hairpin again. That would be a chicane because you're not going straight. You've got to turn a little bit either way. Moving on to the next picture here, we've got, this is Cows's corner down Maryhill, and I'm going to use it as an example for a combo breaker. Most people like relate combo breaker to drifting, which is one thing, but a combo breaker is basically a corner which is it turns one way before the corner goes a different way. So in this one in Cows's, it turns left before it has a right-hand hairpin. So at Mirror Hill, obviously this is all grip, you don't have to worry about drifting, but combo braking would be, imagine this is steeper and tighter, you would actually drift left and then drift right. That's a combo brake. It's a combination of drifts to brake. I guess, I don't know. But yeah, you're turning one way and then the other before a corner. The last thing is like the inside of the corner, we call that the apex. I'm pretty sure it's just like, that's a technical term for any kind of corner. The inside of the corner is called the apex. For those who don't know, like how steep a road is, like the official term for that is gradient. So we use that as skaters as well. We talk about if a road is steep or flat, what kind of grade it has, we'll call it grade. That's pretty generic over, you know, anyone. It's not just a skating thing, but we'll often talk about the gradient of a road if it's really steep or if it's really mellow. Gradient. Now let's talk about some different pavement types. That's pavement being the surface of the road, or we call it pave for short. Pavement, pave. Yeah, let's talk about that. Fresh pavement means it's just been made. They've just sealed the road. It's all brand new. It's fresh. This is going to feel grippy. So if it's sliding and turning, fresh pavement is normally going to be harder to slide on. It's going to want to grip more than older or worn-in pavement. Smooth pavement or smooth seal is obviously in the name. The surface of the pavement is really smooth, and yeah, smooth pavement feels good to roll on. It's often a little grippier to slide as well. Smooth normally is like, it's newer pavement. So fresh pavement isn't often smooth, and smooth pavement is normally newer. Next one is blacktop. I don't hear people talk about blacktop as much up here in the Northeast. I think because most of the pavement isn't, it's like this weird rough pale stuff, but in New Zealand most of our pavement is blacktop, and that's that really smooth asphalt kind of pavement where it's like, yeah, it's a really dark color, really smooth. Normally leaves better thane lines. Like if you see videos from people skating in New Zealand and Australia, we often have like quite bright thane. It's because we're on that blacktop pavement, so the thane lines stand out more. But yeah, blacktop. Chunder. Chundery pavement is like really rough. You could talk about this for like an old road. I know a lot of the roads up here in the Northeast are chunderous because of the plows. So in the winter when the plows go through, they're obviously scraping up the road. It's no longer smooth, but it's not just rough, it's like really rough. That would be chundery pavement. Chip seal. Chip seal is not so common around here where I am now, but in New Zealand, most of the rural roads are actually chip sealed. And that is a road seal design where they basically like dump gravel, dump some tar on top of it, and then sprinkle a little more gravel on top for good measure. So that's like really rough, but not just in a chundery way where it's lumpy. It's like sharp and spiking and drifting on it can feel strange. So chip seal is sort of one of the least desirable pavements to skate on, like personally. Some people will say they like it, but it's not as nice. It's rough when you're riding on it, and sliding on it can be a little bit more unpredictable and a little bit like not feel as good. Pavement change, it's in the name. It's where the pavement changes. So if you're skating a road and it's, say the top is chip seal, but then it changes to smooth seal, you would call that line where it changes the pavement change. That's again, not really a skate thing, it's just, I don't know, it's something we talk about a lot, is that there's a pavement change in a road. Yeah. If a road gets the Re-Pave or the Re-Seal, it's because it's been repaved or resealed. Again, super simple, but this is often something that like skaters get really hyped about. If there's a road that everyone knows and it's kind of deteriorated and people don't skate it as much anymore, but then someone goes there randomly and they see it got the Re-Pave, everyone's going to know about it. It's going to be really exciting, and basically you can go and skate that road again. It's going to be fun. It's going to have that new seal. It's going to have that fresh pavement. It's going to be fun again, basically. So Re-Pave is kind of like a hype word for skaters. All right, let's talk about some hazards to do with pavements. The first one being tar snakes. So that's when you have cracks in the road, and instead of repaving the road, they just, like the town or whoever's in charge of road maintenance, they just spray a little bit of tar along the cracks. And so you end up with these long snakes about this wide, or depending whatever, but you know, just a flat snake looking thing of tar. The reason these can be problematic is that if you slide over it, especially in the summertime, tar, when it gets hot, it can get like kind of soft and sticky. And so sliding in it can be a little hazardous, especially if the crack goes down the road and you slide down it, you're gonna stick to it. It can be really pretty scary actually. But yeah, that's a tar snake. Manholes, that one's pretty obvious. If there's a manhole in the middle of the road, that's gonna affect you if you skate over it. Again, more so sliding, but you know, if there's a deep hole from a manhole and you hit that, it can be pretty problematic, but manholes are pretty hazardous. Potholes, similar to manholes, but not intentionally meant to be there. The pothole is just like a hole in the road. Same as driving. It sucks when you hit it. In skating, it kind of sucks more because if you fall off your board from a pothole, it's gonna hurt. But so potholes are a pretty bad hazard. And then the other one, kind of already mentioned, is just cracks. Like cracks in the road would be a potential hazard. I actually hit one yesterday when I was skating. But yeah, anything that's just like gonna affect how you're riding. Like anything that's far away from smooth is not gonna feel good. So a crack is also a hazard. Yeah, let's get into some sort of more fun lingo. Quite often you might hear people refer to the line. The line is basically like the best way to take a corner. So this is normally referred to as like the fastest way to take a corner. The line is normally more associated with racing, and so it's the race line. That's going to be like the way you can get through a corner the quickest. So like if it's a slide corner, you're sliding as little as possible and getting through the fastest you can. That's something cool that we talk about all the time, is like getting the line or dialing in the line or figuring out what the line is for a corner is a big part of skating. Blind versus spottable. A blind corner means you can't see past the corner, you don't know what's behind it. And so normally that just means to stay in your lane. Obviously if there's going to be cars around, you want to stay in your own lane to be safe. But blind means you can't see through it. This normally only matters when like the line is through the wrong lane of the road. This would mean you would, if you want to take that line, you would need someone to spot it. Meaning someone to stand on the corner and wave you through to let you know there's no car coming. Or maybe someone's ahead with a walkie-talkie, or any form of you being told you can go through on the wrong side of the road safely. Blind corners can be pretty dangerous if you're messing around with them. Like you really don't want to blow, which blowing lane is when you cross the center line into the oncoming lane. And blowing a blind corner is just like rolling the dice basically. Like that's really dangerous. Some people do it, you know, they just, you know, you can't tell anyone what to do, but that's like pretty much as dangerous as it gets. If you have a blind corner and you want to take the line through it, you should really be using a spotter. If a spot is hot, that means that like there's a lot of attention in a negative way around that spot. So when you go and skate it, there's like a good chance that the police might turn up. Maybe there's a local on the hill that doesn't like you going there. We have a spot nearby where the like park ranger guy doesn't like us very much, and if he happens to drive by while we're skating it, he'll have a go at us. But like, you can skate it, but there's a good chance you're gonna have a problem. That would be a hot spot, like when a spot is hot. Further along from that train of thought is a spot is blown. This means like if you show up there and you stand on your skateboard, someone's gonna have a problem and it's not gonna go well. This is, you know, roads that have been skated for years and years, or maybe roads where there's been a serious accident, roads where the locals have called the police so many times that they just show up as soon as they see a skater. That would be blown. Not something that people talk about a lot. You know, it's kind of a negative thing, but that's what it means for a spot to be blown. You probably shouldn't skate that one anymore, because if you skate it, you're probably going to get in trouble. That spot is blown. Sort of on the same topic, you have one and done spots. This is the kind of spot that's like, maybe it's like it's hot, the spot is kind of hot, you can get away with it. So when you do skate it, you just do one and done, you do your one run and you get out of there. As I'm saying this, I'm starting to feel slightly guilty as I'm putting this on the internet, but it's the lingo that we use, and it's part of skating. It's kind of a shame when people have problems with skating, because, you know, we're just using the road, but hey, that's part of it. After all that sort of more negative stuff, we'll end on a fun note. A rainbow road, that's when someone has typically a driveway. They're pretty common around here in the States, which it's like a semicircle. And so you can be skating the road and then go down someone's driveway and it loops back onto the road. A lot of the time they can just be sort of short, maybe they have a tree in the middle, just go around like a semicircle. It's really fun. And obviously this is named after the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. Although with skating, it's not really a shortcut, it's more like a feature, and they can be a little bit sketchy sometimes. But rainbow roads is just a fun little thing that we also have while we're skating. But yeah, same as all the other videos, like, I don't think I would have really got anything wrong in this one, because this is all like my names and my ways of describing things. But let me know in the comments, like, if I said anything in a certain way that you never heard before and like you describe it as something else. If there's anything I just didn't even mention and it's like a fun slang name in relation to roads, chuck it in the comments and let me know. These have been really fun videos to make so far, and yeah, thanks for watching.